it should include it.
Okay, so good evening and welcome back once again. This is BoA, the only place for your ACC needs, and we're here for round 2 of the Pro Series. We're here at the lovely sunny Donington Park. Now I've got Steve in the booth for me today. Welcome, Steve. How you doing? And how depressing is this to see a sunny Donington? Hey.
Good evening, Richie. Yeah, it sure is a lot sunnier than what we've just experienced in the Am-Class race. The lucky boys have got a nice clean optimum track. It was dry during practice as well, and at the Academy race, which as you'll know, Rich, was wetter than an otter's pocket.
An otter's pocket. That's nice and soggy, Steve. We've got just under 13 minutes of qualifying remaining and a good spread of cars. I know you had some troubles with the Audi. How is it looking in the dry conditions around here, Steve? We've got a couple on the grid.
I'll be honest, I think the Audi was actually okay in the wet. I think it was more a in-chair issue rather than the car issue. But yeah, the Audi seems to be pretty good here. It's got a good balance of rotation and some grunt out of the corners. I wouldn't say it's one of the best cars here. I reckon, personally, I think that the Mclaren and the Mercedes are probably two of the strongest of the BOP cars around here. The Mercedes loves to run those curves really well, and the McLaren, the aero just seems to work quite well here. So I reckon that those two cars are going to be the strongest. And of course, the Ferrari and the Bentley, they always seem to be strong everywhere. So don't count those guys out either.
Don't count them out. And if memory serves me correctly, a certain BMW went extra well. Captain Rog at the helm of the big boat BMW, charging once forth across the oceans and parting it to victory, I do believe. Quote me if I'm wrong, but we also got a second bimmer today, and that is Physics on the grid, who we just taken a little tour with around. We have tried to deafen a bit of the audio this time around so you can hear us when we go on board. So we'll switch to that just now, just so we can get a kind of perspective. So if you want to talk away on a lap maybe, Steve, and we'll see how we're looking on the audio.
Yeah, just as you sort of said, you mentioned Captain Rog really well done in Suzuka, taking the win in the first round last weekend, and he was provisional pole, just been knocked off by Mclaren, so he's looking pretty quick again. To be honest, I would say that BMW will struggle at this track, to be honest. It's a very narrow track, there's not really many long straights for the Beamer to really stretch its legs, but Captain Rog at the wheel, it certainly seems to be a force to be reckoned with. Just that Warncy there has gone provisional pole by 3 tenths to 28.9. But yes, it will be probably getting a little bit quicker. I was in practice with some of these guys for during the week, and I have to say there's a few 27s knocking about there, so I'm kind of expecting those times to come down a little bit further towards that level, but we'll have to see. 10.5 minutes qualifying left, and the track is optimum, so yes, I'm really expecting those lap times to fall as the session goes on.
Yeah, track hopefully will rubber in towards the end of the session, and it is already optimal though, so we shall see. Going to take a little tour with Bump Stop in one of your newer favourite cars. It's the car you love to hate, isn't it, the Audi? I tried it last season with Steve and had an absolute nightmare, as he puts it on provisional pole. 27.759 for BoA Bump Stop, and he just smashed it out the park, Steve.
Oh yeah, there we go. I was just saying, literally a couple of minutes ago, I thought that we were going to see some 27s, and Bump Stop, clearly listening into the stream, immediately dipping that into the 27s. He's a second and 2 tenths up on P2 Warnsey at the moment. That is a huge gap, so a lot of catching up to do for the others. Warnsey goes quicker in response, but it's only 4 tenths quicker, so that's still a big gap at the top there. It's looking good for Bump Stop so far, but the others will know that they can match that pace, so they're going to have to try even harder now to try and push themselves and get up onto that front row.
Yeah, so we only got 2 drivers yet to set a lap time. Who go? And Surfless. And yeah, we've got what, 9 minutes remaining, so time to pull your finger out, maybe go for one last run, fuel up for a couple of laps around it. Quite a short lap. It looks quite long on paper, but it's quite high-speed nature, I would say. You carry a lot of speed throughout the lap, and gives it that 1 minute 30 kind of lap time, which we didn't have that in the last time out. Nico put it right up there now, Steve, and knocking on the door of the front row.
Yeah, good luck from him. I think that's just a 28. He's only a couple of thousandths outside of that 27 value. But yeah, as you say, Richie, I get the impression this track very much a track of two halves. You've got the first half, which is very fast, very flowing, very old school. Basically what I sort of imagine your typical British racetrack to be, and then you've got that second sector which was added on I think in the late 70s to bring Grand Prix racing here, and that is very slow, very technical. Personally I don't enjoy it that much. I think it kind of ruins the flow, but it's something else that these drivers have to consider. It means you have to sort of compromise your setup for the two halves of this track.
Yeah, and I love that. A track of two halves. Almost like a game of football, Steve. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. If you're tuned in today, let us know you're here, who you're supporting. Might be a driver, might just be listening for that inside scoop throughout the race. We'll try to keep you up to date with the gaps, what's going on circuit, and any potential hazards as well. We'll be the race control, the commentary, and the voice of reason in your ear this evening. And Steve, yeah, you're an absolute encyclopedia of knowledge, aren't you?
Well, it's not always particularly useful knowledge, but I guess it all counts, doesn't it? If there's ever a pub quiz, pointless sort of racetrack trivia, I can probably write a book on it. But yeah, whoever you're here to support, even if it's myself and Richie, our first day, I was gonna say our first night together, but that sounds a little bit dodgy. But our first day, our first race together on comms.
Where are you taking me, Steve?
Well, oh, gentleman never tells, Richie. A gentleman never tells.
So quite a bit of a spread throughout the fields. We've got about, well, I'll say 2 seconds covering the top 17 drivers now. And quality pace, not always the best reading of how it's going to go in the race itself. Of course, when you're fueled up for the hard charge towards the checkered flag, very different beast than when it's in the lightest mode possible. What do you prefer, Steve? Do you prefer a light car, or do you prefer a bit more of a heavy car? It's ACC.
I'll be honest, I kind of enjoy a bit of fuel in the car. I've always been somebody who necessarily sort of struggles on a one-lap thing. I feel like my quality record isn't fantastic. I'd much rather have a car nice and settled for the long race. That's where the points come in the end. So very much enjoy sort of running the car on fuel, and then usually it's very sort of by the seat of the pants in quality, just trying to get every last tenth out of the car that you can. But yeah, I tend to I do all of my practice on race fuel, and I think that probably one of the reasons why I enjoy driving with a bit of fuel in the car. I find it a lot easier to be consistent that way. But yeah, so you can see these guys right on the ragged edge in quality. Low fuel, running on fumes, giving it absolutely everything. Qualifying is very important here, I'd say. It's not an easiest of tracks to overtake. There's probably only one or two probably clear-cut overtaking positions, probably down into the chicane and maybe into turn one if you're feeling brave. Otherwise, it's all about pressuring drivers into making mistakes and hoping you can find an opening.
Yeah, especially through that second sector. You know, it's really hard to follow through there as well, to be right on the back of someone, because if they have a moment, you're going to be caught up in that as well. So yeah, sector 3 is probably your ideal opportunity down into them heavy braking areas, and yeah, just trying to not literally push them off the track, but push them into some kind of error. Yeah, interesting. We had a very wet race. The qualifying was, you know, a bit damp. What was the exact conditions that we had there, Steve?
Effing wet. Yeah, it was
bloody wet, mate.
Yeah, it was a wet track in both sessions, so completely different to what these guys have got at the moment. They've got a nice dry track, lots of grip. That, of course, could all change in the race. Although it looks like the race is scheduled to take place the same day as the qualifying, so yeah, I'd say you'd probably put your money here on a dry start here. There's one of the Bentleys there getting all out of shape on the exit of turn 1, I think it looks there. I think that's RZM Trigger. He's pushing a little bit too hard. He's returned to the pit lane. It's still BoA bump stop, currently holding on pole. He's still the only driver to break into the 27s. The chasing pack is getting closer. We've got 7 drivers within a second now, but they'll be hoping with 4 minutes to go, bump stop, he'll be hoping he could cling on and keep hold of that pole position.
Sounds like something out of Star Trek, doesn't it? She's going to be a Klingon. Sorry for the pun. But yeah, last hurrah now. 3 minutes 40 remaining. You need to be on circuit to get them tyres, get everything dialed in, everything up to temperature, and get your head in the right place right now. So Bump Stop is on circuit, and his closest challengers are Nico in the number 7 Mercedes. Then we've got the Bentley of Warnsey, Captain Rog, and Physics. The Physics looks like he's going to be done for this qualifying session, unless it's going to be a late blast from him. But who's your pick for pole right now, Steve? Who you putting your money on?
I mean, it's probably the most boring option, but it's hard to look past Bump Stop at this stage. He's the only man in the 27s, and they're sort of chipping away at that lead. But that lap time from Nico was quite a while ago now, so I feel like he looks good. He's out track on the moment, so he's in the perfect position to respond should anybody beat that lap time. But for me, he's looking good with 3 minutes to go.
Never discount Captain Rog. I expect him to do something special in these final few minutes of qualifying here at Donington. And one of them iconic circuits that we remember from the likes of, what was it? What was probably the first game you played this on? Toka?
Toka 2 touring cars on PS1. I'm bringing that one back, throwing off my age. Always a big spin. That's going to hold a Roger up, might potentially. The Mclaren of Red Apple Pie sort of spun in front of him coming out the exit of the old hairpin. I don't think he would have had to have got out the throttle, but it would certainly be a bit of a distraction for him. So that might have ruined that lap. But we still have time for another one after this. But yeah, not ideal for Rog there. Yeah, he's pulled out of that. So I don't know if he was already behind on his Delta before that happened. But yeah, big spin from Red Apple Pie in front of him. Probably just distracted him a little bit. I don't think he had to have lifted, but yeah, not ideal.
1 minute 50 remaining. Currently Bump Stop from Nico. Warnsey your top 3, and Warnsey was the car hot on the tail of Captain Rog in the big bruising Bentley, and we know you can smash it around, and definitely suit the first couple of sectors in this race.
Yeah, who can forget Warnsey? A good race last time out in Suzuka. Had a big off at 130 yard though, I do believe, if I remember correctly. Took a huge chunk out of the wall, robbed us of what was going to be kind of a thrilling climax. But Rog there kicking up some dirt on the exit of the last corner. I'm not sure that's going to be the best way to start a lap. But yeah, Warnsey will be looking for a bit of a redemption this week, no doubt.
Yeah, nice to see a good spread of cars as well. The top 5 all in a different manufacturer, and probably one of the most competitive grids, whilst also being one of the most diverse. Things you love to see.
Yeah, always good to see a nice mixture of cars. I think, especially in recent times, certain manufacturers are far more popular than others. Usually Ferrari and Bentley seem to be the preferred options. Yeah, good to see some spread. We've got some Porsches, we've got some Audis, we've got Coulthard in the Lambo. Always exciting to see one of those in the grid. McLaren as well. So yeah, it's a good spread of cars, and that's really good to see. As you said, it keeps things interesting. We don't want spec series. It looks like Captain Rogers pulled out of his final timed lap, so he's not going to set any time. So we've got in quick succession, we've got Bump Stop coming across the line. Oh, what's that, Richie?
Mclaren just lost it on the final corner, trying to get the power down a bit too early. Just ended up spinning into the bits. Unlucky Mclaren. We'll have to settle for 4th. Maybe it was intentional. Who knows? I bloody well don't, that's for sure.
So here comes Warnsey. He's going to be the next one over the line. What can he do? He does not improve, so he'll be starting in 3rd place. Bump Stop is going to be the next across the line, followed by Red Apple Pie and then Nico. So it's going to be who's going to be able to beat each other on this final run. Here comes Bump Stop. Oh, he's slow to a crawl, so he's not going to be setting a time. So it's all going to be down to Nico. What can Nico do as he comes out of the final corner in that striking black and yellow Mercedes? It's a really mean-looking car. And he's taken pole, Rich. He's taken it. It's a 27.5, right at the death. Quarter of a second. And he left it late, but it's going to be Nico on pole position for this race here at Donington today by 2.5 tenths.
Well, that was some lap at the death there. He pulled that out of somewhere. I'll leave that to your imagination. But congratulations for Nico for taking the pole in emphatic fashion here at Donington, and just over a quarter of a second over bump stop. So it's the number 7 Mercedes of Nico GTR, followed by number 64 Audi of bump stop, number 563 Bentley of Warnsey, then we've got Mclaren, the number 90 Ferrari, and Captain Rog, the number 711 in the BMW. Your top 5 positions. This is going to be an interesting race, that's for sure, Steve.
Yeah, for sure, Richie. As you said, there's tons of guys who are around who we know can challenge for victories. Anybody sort of in that top 10, really, we know we've got Jay Jones and Trigger as well outside the top 10. So how far can they get up? They're probably maybe a little bit out of position there. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. There is a little bit of uncertainty about the weather, guys. If who's watching in the chat, who's your pick for the win today? It'll be good to see. So it looks like it's going to be dry again, though. A bit more cloudy, so a little bit more uncertainty. It's going to be interesting to see what drivers are going to do with fuel now, because obviously refueling is you do have to make a stop for fuel, but yeah, do you go long just in case that rain comes, or do you sort of go light and risk some rain later on in the race and having to make 2 stops? It's going to be tricky for them to decide, I imagine.
Very tricky, but yeah, as it looks like, it's going to be pretty much a dry race you'd expect. We can see half an hour into the future. Looks okay, but you never know.
That famous British weather, you never know what it's got in store. That's only half an hour, is only half race distance, so who knows what we could have. A bit of late rain could certainly spice it up, but I'm sure Nico will be more than thrilled to see the dry track, having put it on pole. Nothing like a bit of rain to mix up the field, so he'll be thrilled that the conditions are very similar to what he's just experienced on quali. So good for him, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic from him, and it's all about getting a clean getaway, like you say. We saw the field really string out in the opening phases. I know it was a wet race, but that's what can happen around here. The concertina effects, and if you get stuck behind someone slightly slow, you're going to have to back off, and you'll see some big gaps start to form. It's all going to be about being consistent, getting the strategy right around here, as we've got 24 seconds before we get going on the formation lap. Crucial to get everything up to temperature before this, and make sure you press drive, lads, because we're about to get going. In the chat, we've got Wizard Was saying nice lap from Nico. We got Sarosa saying hi, and we got
Galea saying good luck, he needs it. Yeah.
It's Galea. Welcome.
And he's
everyone.
starting down in 17th, so there's only really one way you can go when you start down there. He'll be hoping just to keep his nose clean, I imagine, on the lap 1, and see how many places he can pick up. But it's a very tough lap 1, I think, here, where you've got a full field of cars as you sort of dive down those trainer curves to the old hairpin. It's very easy to lose the car, even on your own. So when you've got other cars sort of buzzing around fighting for the same bit of tarmac, it's very easy to lose the car and collect others. And you'll notice as well, this isn't like a Herman Tilkedrome. There's no tarmac runoffs to save you here. Just a nice big pit of gravel to swallow up your car should you get things wrong.
Yeah, it's going to suck you out into the barrier as well. If you get over the curve at a few points at this circuit, it's just going to lure you in. And yeah, absolutely murder you. So stay away from the edge of the circuit around here. And,
yeah, this gravel trap on the left was certainly my best friend in the race. I visited that a few times.
All your work.
These guys are professionals. They are the pro class. I know we're a bunch of amateurs, but these are the top dogs. So hopefully they're going to put on a great show for us this week. They did last week at Suzuka. Let's hope Donington offers up a similar prospect.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for everyone who's joining us this evening. This is BoA. This is the Pro Series. These are the big boys. This is round 2. This is Donington. I am your host, Richie, and we've got Steve in the house. Steve is awake. Steve is alive. Steve is live and direct this evening.
Yeah, so just be working these tyres, trying to get temperatures into them and the brakes. You can see Nico sort of stopping and starting. I think it's around about here where you get asked to line up in double file. So there'll be a mad scramble as they try and get themselves into position. personally, I think this is quite a tricky start actually, because you've got two very sort of slow hairpins to sort of keep, particularly if you're starting on the outside on that last corner. It's slightly off camber, so it's very easy to lose a bit of time before the sort of the speed limiter kicks in. So yeah, it's not as simple. You can already see there's a big gap sort of on the radar. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who gets it right and who gets caught out. And yeah, I can see Bump Stop already sort of showing his nose. He wants to be ahead of Nico by the end of the first corner, I'm sure. But it will be Nico on pole position, and it's going to be lights out very, very soon.
Important to get up to speed well and be close enough to the car ahead of you out of the final turn here. And here we go. If you want to lead us away, Steve.
Yeah, they'll be crawling up to the line. Wait for it, here we go, it's green flag and we are racing. BoA Tron comes out and crosses into the middle of the road, but it looks like Bump Stop has got a slightly better launch, but he's going to have to go a long way around. Side by side as they go through Redgate. Bump Stop's kicking up the dirt, surely he's going to lose some traction. Warnsey wants a piece of action as well, but it's going to be Nico that leads the field as they go into the crane curves onto lap one. Here we go, onto the brakes, into the old hairpin. Oh, it looks pretty clean at the front, but Bump Stop he's going to go around the outside at Starkey's up towards Coppice and Mclaren's. Warnsey just all over the back of them as well. He's going to get his elbows out here. There's a little bit of contact, and that's going to allow Warnsey to get through, and Captain Rog. Nico could go from first to fourth here in the space of 2 corners. That was a very firm move from Bump Stop there. He knew that he had to get ahead of Nico as soon as possible, and he used a bit of door banging there to get the job done. But for the rest of it, we've got a couple of struggles at the back, but for the rest of that, it looks pretty clean, Richie.
Yeah, so far so good. A few minor scripts and scrapes always expected at these older circuits, as we've got a Bentley taken to the gravel there, lives to fight another day, but we're just getting a bit spread out here. It's Bump Stop leading from Warnsey. Captain Rog up to P3. Nico, your pole setter, down to P4 as you come round this hairpin here, or the double right-hander, whatever you want to call it. It's getting a bit tasty, a bit dicey, and this is where we're going to see most of the moves here today.
Yeah, certainly in this corner as well, very, very important. As I mentioned, it's off camber, so it's sometimes tricky to get the power down, but if you can really nail the exit and get good traction, you can sort of tuck into the stitching. You see Hayward on surf, not giving him any option there. He's really good position, strong defence. But yeah, you can see if you get the traction out of that corner, you can have a go into turn one if you get that inside line, but positioning your car here, very important.
Oh, Hayward's gone. Dropped it himself, it seems.
Oh, well, he's in good company, is all I'll say, without giving away too much about my race went. But yeah, it's a very tricky corner. Very tricky corner, the old hairpin.
Everything not up to full spec and temperature at the minute, but Bump Stop has bolted and he's already pulled out a 1 second advantage over Warnsey, who's going to have Captain Rog for company, and it's going to be the 2 big bruising cars. The Bentley versus the BM will come out on top. This is the heavyweight division with these 2.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks so far that Warnsey and Rog are not going to waste too much time fighting each other. I think they're just going to try and stick on the back of Bump Stop. You know how easy it is to lose time fighting, especially around a narrow track such as this. So I think it's important that they don't necessarily go at each other too hard in the early stages of the race and allow Bump Stop to just drive into the distance.
Yeah, smart and considered, measured driving from them, but...
Oh, there's a bit of contact at the back there as they go through Goddard, Ho-Ho-Ko and Banjo. Yeah, that just... 2 cars trying to go for the same bit of tarmac, it does not work. They've both rejoined. Ho-Ho-Ko is lost a ton of time, he's going to be right at the back of the field, but yeah, a little bit of contact, and it's a difficult trick corner there, it just sucks you in, and that's what happens if you don't get it quite right.
Yeah, and if you get it wrong as well, it invites another car to place himself there. I saw that myself. I had a bit of contact with Matt UK, which I sincerely apologise for. Everyone getting a bit close into one of the second to last hairpin, and I just got a bit caught out by the closing speed and braking where we should be on traction. As Banjo makes contact with the back of Galea, has to lift out of it. It's going to invite Little Mon syndrome down the inside. Fancies a little look. It's better of it. looks like the battles will be further down the order at the minute.
So look, it looks like Warnsy's had it off. It looks like I saw him cutting across the grass as they come out of McLaren's, and yeah, he's down in 11th now, so that's a disaster for Warnsy. He's got a lot of work to do to catch back up to that lead group.
In the background, they're still going at it. Banjo, Galea, Hayward, and Lilmon. It's going to be a four-way. Banjo is going to lead them through. Galea very brave in the Porsche.
He'll be thrilled to know that this race is not wet, I'm sure.
One of the more interesting things for me when I went to Alton Park was when the wet conditions did come, it was the mid-engine cars which just came into their own. Porsche was nowhere in the dry. In the wet, it was hammering it around, right up the top of the order, as well as the Hurricanes as well. So, yeah, very strange to see.
That's very interesting. It's typically on ASDC, which is sort of well known. In the rain, you kind of want weight over the front wheels, so sort of like your Beamers and your Bentleys and your Mercs. They tend to be the better wet weather cars. The Lexus as well, very strong in the wet. So yeah, interesting to note that. Dan the Corgi is into the pits. I'm assuming that he must have had some damage, but he's making his mandatory pit stop now. It's going to be interesting to see where he comes out, because I've got a nasty feeling he's going to come out straight in the middle of this pack. So not only is he going to lose time from having to pit early for damage, but he's then going to have to lose a ton of time when he comes out in this big train of cars with blue flags. So yeah, potentially traffic already for some of the midfield cars to deal with.
Yeah, and that's tough as well. When you come out into traffic, you have to lift, concede, and it's just a domino effect. And you just slip on further and further into the abyss. Of course, there'll be no stoppages in here. You're just going to have to count on other people's misdemeanors, misfortunes, whatever you want to call it. But Nico, hot on the heels of Captain Rog in the battle for P2 now.
Yeah, Nico very close there. He was tucking into the system on the straight lines, on the pitch straight, but probably Mercedes versus BMW. There's probably not too much in that in terms of straight line speed. That car's going to roll a good. Rog kicks up a big load of dust there. Trying everything to keep ahead of Nico right now at this stage of the race, but it's good to see these guys right on the ragged edge to try and race for us tonight. It's really exciting to see. So Sarosa in the chat, he reckons that Nico, despite the fact that he lost a couple of places at the start, he's still calling him for the win. Well, he's looking like he's got a lot of pace at the moment, but it's going to be... they are sticking with bump stop, to be fair. The gap's only 1.6, so if he manages to clear Rog fairly soon, he probably has got a good shot of sticking with bump stop, and then it'll be all about the strategy in the pits. There's got another straggler. Who's that? That's in the gravel. I think that's Physics. He's taken the rallycross route there, I think. Looks like he had a bit of a... Yeah, looks like he had a bit of a whoopsie at the Fogarty S's, but he's going to be right down behind Galea now, so he's down in 14th. After what was a fairly strong start from Physics, actually. I think he was up in the top 6.
So 5 laps in, 52 minutes remain. Bump stop, holding on to that lead. He stretched it out to about 1.6 seconds, and he's just stabilising that as Captain Rogers got his mirrors full of bright, luminous yellow. And yeah, quite intimidating. He doesn't want to get stung by Nico. What other battles can you see throughout it? We've got Physics.
Yeah. He had a big upsie, I think. So big upsie. He was off of the road at the chicane and he lost a ton of places rejoining safely. So he's down in 13th. He's on, 14th. But he's going to be on the back of that Galea Banjo fight, which has been raging since the start of the race. So again, if he's got the pace, he's going to want to try and clear them quickly. But it's going to be difficult when you've got 2 cars squabbling in front of you. They're wrapped up in their own little world. So he'll be hoping he can make some room for that big Beamer to muscle his way through back in towards the top 10.
Surplus as well, good start for him up to P5. He finds himself the head of a 3-car trade with Prawn and J Jones 2K in that battle for 5th. Nico still keeping on his toes.
Yeah, and just in the background there, Rich, Arjan Trigger has moved into the pits. Now, I don't think he had any damage, so this must be sort of the mother of undercuts, I guess, is what he's going to be trying here. The car doesn't look too damaged on the track, so I think this is a strategy call. We've seen him use the big undercut many times before, especially in the GT4 competition, but I don't know, 50 minutes, that seems a little bit too early for me. It'll be interesting to see how that works as the race plans out, but clearly he was unhappy sitting in traffic, and he's decided that he's going to go for some clean air to set some lap times, and hopefully that will gain him positions at the end of the race.
So he's pulled the trigger very early. He started into the pits. The clean air might do him some good. Fresh air always does me good, and yeah, he's got a nice empty track up ahead of him, and it's going to be hammer time for Trigger for the next 50 minutes. He'll hopefully come out ahead of these rivals up ahead of him. But meanwhile, at the front of the order, the gap now from Captain Rog to Bump Stop down to 1 second. So maybe a little bit of an issue there for Bump Stop, taking 6 tenths out the lead as Rog, and he's towing Nico on as well. Kool-Aid has been dropped, now 4 seconds behind. Jay Jones looking close on the back of, what was that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to see. You sometimes get a little bit of graining in the Audi after sort of around 20 minutes. So if you just put a bit too much through the tyres, I was saying this yesterday in the 12-hour strip, it's very easy to overwork the tyres early on, and they do go through a graining stage. So maybe it's just losing a little bit of grip, or maybe it's just Rog having to really drive at maximum to hold off Nico, and they're pushing themselves along. But yeah, this is going to be a 3-car fight for the lead very, very soon.
Yeah, we spoke about this a bit earlier. Very easy to overdrive this circuit. Sector 1, one of them old traditional circuits. A bit like Suzuka. Can't get too greedy through one, or you're going to compromise the next, and the one after, and the one after. Just got to bide your time, and not use and abuse the car.
Yeah, just further back, P18, Hohoku. Their day seems to be going from bad to worse. They were in the wars earlier, and now they're making a pit stop again. I don't know whether that's going to be for damage or for an undercut call, but that's going to put him right back again in amongst the leaders, so he's going to go a lap down. So yeah, not the great day for him in the purple Audi.
Nico's got the full beams on here. He's really trying to intimidate. That's what you've got to love about this as well. You can get the blinkers on, trying to startle the opposition, and yes, it is broad daylight, and they do have the full beams on the cars here.
Yes, because I'm sure you wouldn't notice a bright yellow Mercedes in your mirror. I'm sure the flashing is doing it, doing everything. But yeah, all the tricks in the book, you see it all the time in touring cars and prototypes. He's very close through that first sector. It's top commitment to stick on the back. Rog again, he likes kicking up the dirt, using all of the track on the exit of the old hairpin. It doesn't seem to cost him too much, but always looks a bit dramatic when dust getting flung up in front of you. And yeah, Nico's just got to wait for an opening. Oh, there we go. Kick on exit. It's so easy to do. Again, another one of those corners that's slightly off camber, so if you get the power down too soon like that, or you can kick up some dirt, it's very easy to lose the back. Rog held it though, but that'll be a good thing for Nico to see. I imagine you can see that Rog is sort of struggling and just fighting really, really hard. So hopefully, if Nico's got anything more in the tank, that'll be a good sign for him. But those guys are right on the back of Bump Stop now, and this is now a freeway fight for the win. Oh.
Bit of a kick there for Bump Stop.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but I don't know if Rog had to take evasive action at Bump Stop there, but it left the door open for Nico to come through. So Nico now up into second.
And the pulse here, after dropping back, finds himself now up to P2 in this race. And yeah, looks like the Audi squirming around on its tyres. So it won't be able to box too soon if it's going to be struggling even at this stage. It's going to have to try and stretch this stint out, negate some of the pain.
Well, they do tend to, they say they go through a graining stage, Richard, so they you lose a bit of grip for sort of 5-10 minutes, but they do come back. So he'll be hoping that he can get through that, and then once you get through that initial grading stage, then you do sort of just settle back into a rhythm. Just notice Surf as they boxed again. So he was sort of on the back of a, he was sort of Prawn and Jones and that group there. So he's boxed presumably to get out of the traffic and follow Trigger, try and see if he's going to get some clean air. It looks like Trigger is going to jump him as well, so that's already one position that Trigger has made up on the undercut. So Surf into the box, 45 minutes remaining. I still think it's a little bit early, but we might start seeing a few more of these guys who are fighting in traffic take the gamble here and pull that trigger and just see where they can work their way up to, I think.
Do you blink first? You know, sometimes by boxing early you can put yourself in a bit of traffic. You never know. It's hard to try and understand the distances, etc. Top 3 stay out as we head into lap 10 with 45 minutes to go.
Yeah, that is definitely the gamble you take, as we saw that yesterday in the IXR 12 hours in Lozano. We had guys boxing for the undercut and they coming across traffic, and it was a disaster for them. You know, it ruined their races. So it is a gamble boxing early. It's high risk, high reward, but these guys, they're all risk takers. So if they feel like they've got a chance of making up positions by boxing early, they're going to do it. They're going to box early. Interesting to see that Prawn and Jones both stayed out, so neither of them reacting to Surf's pit stop. They seem to be happy with where they are at the moment, so they're going to stay out. The Physics Galea battle is still raging on. It's now a battle for 10th place. Physics has got past Galea, but Galea's still right on the bumper as they go through the crane of curves. As Banjo loses it nearly in the head of him. And,
this is a drift event. That was a beautiful one. Slid it on in there. Change of pants, please.
We have our first coat brown of the evening. That really is. It's my favourite one on the track. The old hairpin. It's such a. It's cambered. It's banked. It's tricky to get your braking right, and you can kick out the back end a little bit. It's a very challenging and very rewarding when you get it right. It's a fantastic piece of racetrack. So Jay Jones still very much on the back of Prawn, hasn't quite been able to find the pace yet to attempt to pass, but is still very much there, just a second behind him in the Bentley, so he'll be hoping that he can find a bit of pace or maybe use a bit of strategy to get that move done. Jay Jones, one of my teammates in the GT3 competition, he was saying Prawn picks up, that was an even bigger drift. And yeah, he'd be somebody that is really disappointed that today's race wasn't wet. He's somewhat of a wet weather specialist, and he was telling me all throughout the week how much he was looking forward to some wet weather today. So he'll be bitterly disappointed, but still going strongly in 6th. And looks like he's putting some real pressure on Prawn now for P5, and be hoping that he can make that move fairly soon.
So some nice battles forming as Nico edges ever closer once again. He's really confident on the brakes as Nico, and he's dropped Rog by about a second now as well. We want to try and get past that first available opportunity, Nico, and then cruise on off into the sunset.
Yeah, just maybe wondering, Roger's just sitting back and seeing what happens here. Actually, I'm sure he'd love nothing more for the two guys ahead of him to have a big fight and a tangle, and maybe, you know, end up with one or both of them in the gravel trap and make up some positions for free. So maybe he's just sitting back and watching just what they're going to do here. But he doesn't want to drop too far back because he sort of dropped himself out of contention. So the gap down to 1.5 seconds now. So yeah, maybe Rod's just struggling a little bit for pace now, but he's got a nice buffer back to Kool-Aid, about 7 seconds. So it's not going to hurt him too much. But yeah, just playing it by ear, I think, and just waiting to see what the two guys in front of him are up to.
The big run still keeping Red Apple honest as we head into lap 12. Got 4 cars have all made their mandatory pit stop for the evening. Is Galea. He's off the circuit. He's rejoining. Bit of a moment there for him. Maybe took a bit too much of the green stuff.
Oh, big run! It looks like he's gone off the old hairpin as well. He's mowing the grass for the circuit organisers. It's very much a very scrappy fibre. It's very much for the final points position. Red Apple Pie currently holding P12, so somebody else has gone off there as well. Is that Physics? Yeah. Whoa, be careful you joining, mate. Just about got away with that. No harm, no foul, as the saying is. But yeah, Physics, not for the first time leading the circuit and losing a ton of positions, which will, I think, promote Mclaren into that final points position. Yep, he'll be in P12, so Galea and Haywood will be trying to pressure their way into the points.
Oh, has Nico got the lead? Oh no, he's not. He just showed it for a momentary second there, I think. Must be battling this. Nico just takes to the grass there. He's giving it absolutely everything, as this is just going to invite Rog back into the battle now. And they must have gone toe-to-toe through the first sector. Sorry we missed that. We'll try and stay with the battle for the lead. Thank you for everyone who's joining us. Don't be shy. Let us know who you are in the chat, who you're here to support. And if you want to get involved as well to the ACC community, there's no better place than BoA. We have 3 divisions which run every Sunday, including, a 4th on PC. Roger's giving it the blinkers here. We also have GT4s on a Tuesday, and we have the special events. And let's talk about that special event, because yesterday we had one hell of a race, and it was great to see you on the commentary there, Steve-O.
Yeah, it was a little bit last minute, but I found myself a free afternoon and an empty comms slot, and it's something I've been looking to get myself into. Not yet had the opportunity, so it was good to drop in with Roy, the guru himself, and yeah, I had a good time. I really enjoyed it, and we had some good racing throughout the day. I did bail. I wasn't one of the people that, to be fair, I saw the last stint that was broadcast, but obviously we didn't go all the way. It ran typically as these things do, run over. I think those guys didn't finish until like 3-4 in the morning, so yeah, a long day for them. But yeah, I don't know what the final figure was for the money raised for a charity, but just going to go back to the action quickly, Rich, because Nico been the first one to box of the leaders. So he has been the first to pull the trigger. There's 38 minutes of this race remaining. Now, surely if you're bump stop here, you have to react, don't you?
Yeah, I think you want to, or you've got to really extend it long. Let's see where he comes back out onto the circuit here. He's currently down in, he's going to drop to 8th, 9th. Where are you, Nico? Pick him up, camera. Here he is, he's just rolling out the pits.
He's rolling. He's going to, looks like he's going to come out in some clean air at least, so that's going to work out quite nicely, provided he gets back out in front of Hohoku. Yeah, he does. So yeah, that's worked out quite nicely actually. He's got a nice bit of clean track up to a Trigger, I think, that's ahead of him. So Trigger's made up another place on the undercut as well. But yeah, so he's got some clean air for Nico to pound some lap times in. And I just wonder, is bump stop going to make the call? He's coming up to the pit lane now. He's staying out. And Rog, I don't know if Roger's had a moment, but he's dropped back considerably, it looks like. So I don't know if Roger's had a moment, but he's 5 seconds off the back of bump stop now. So yeah, interesting to see that both of the other leaders stay tuned to stay out there. I'd have thought that at least one of them might have reacted. Certainly we're seeing Trigger make good use of the undercut. He's making up places. So yeah, I guess the option now is to try and go as long as you can and see if that works. Going the other way, be nice and light on the fuel at the end. Yeah,
big shout out to Trigger with that massive undercut there. Has put himself in the net race lead, ladies and gentlemen. Currently sitting in 14th, but the first car to stop finds himself the first car who has stopped and leads the race in terms of net race. Anyway, we still have bump stop and the other leaders to come into the pits. Remember, Nico is at the sharp end of this, so it's going to be very interesting, and we're going to have a 4-way scrap for the lead of this one. Matt UK saying great racing and comms team. Sorry again, Matt, this is the voice of Richie. I can't say how sorry I am. I was gutted when I touched you, gutted. Totally my fault, and I accept wholeheartedly any punishment as well. But back to the racing. What are you seeing, Steve?
Well, yeah, just looking through fights throughout the field. We've got a Jay Jones still all over the back of Prawn, but just slightly further back in the battle for 9th. Red Apple Pie has had a very quiet race so far, but he's now stalking down Lil Mon Syndrome. Mclaren versus Ferrari. that famous old rivalry, the Mclaren in red, maybe not the colour that we're used to, but obviously with red apple pie, what other colour is it going to be? But yeah, he's stalking down Little Mon for 9th, and he's very close to the Ferrari actually. Might have a look here into the Melbourne hairpin. Gonna have a dive. It looks like he is gonna have a go. He's got that move done. Will Little Mon be able to switch back? No, that looks very cut and dry. So yeah, red apple pie looking very quick at this stage. Next car for the road, it looks like Banjo. But
just gone straight off.
What happened there?
See that?
Yeah, I think that was a DC. I think he's been disconnected. He's disappeared from my timing screens as Little Mon syndrome. So unfortunately, that looks like an internet issue. But yeah, just lucky he didn't clean out red apple pie with that. Actually, that would have been a bit of a disaster. Thank you to Dash 1643 who's just subscribed to BoA Esports TV. It's good to have you on board, mate. Hope you're enjoying the streams. Good to have as many of you as you can. We want to grow this community as big as we can get it.
Oh, Hayward.
And
just saved it. Big snap there. Sorry, Steve.
Oh, yes. No, it's fine. I've seen it on the screen. It's another Code Brown incident, I'm sure.
Well held. It's not easy car to catch that, is it, the Merc?
No, it's sort of weighted like a pendulum, all the weight at the front of the car. So it seems if once the rear goes light, it just doesn't want to. It's very hard to counter steer it. Look, Jones. Oh, there he is, Trigger on the back. This will be the first sort of real traffic that Trigger has kind of come across. Everybody ahead of that he's made up positions in so far, he's jumped in the pits, but he's now going to come up to this group of cars. He's got about 3 or 4 of them in the back of a. No, he's flashing him, but Hayward doesn't have to move over. This is for position, and as you said, this is what happens if you do these undercuts. You're going to come across traffic, and if you come across traffic, you've got to overtake them. These guys are in their own little fight. They're under no obligation to move out of the way. So Trigger can flash his lights all he wants, but he's going to have to try and pass these guys on circuit.
Yep, Trigger may have a bit of a fresher tyre on the car. He's got his own battle to think about, but like you say, Hayward has as well. He's just had his moment. He wants to get his head down, get back into the action, get past that Porsche.
Oh, it looks like they're going to go side by side through the crane of curves. This could end in tears. I tell you what, Hayward gets the move done, it looks like, as they go into the old hairpin. Yeah, he does. So that's brave stuff from Hayward, and good racing from the two of them not to trip each other up through that sequence of corners. But this is going to invite Trigger now onto the back of Galeo as they go up into McLaren's. It looks like he had a bit of oversteer and he wasn't able to get close enough. He'll be hoping to tuck into the slipstream and get a toe down the straight and see if he can move something into the chicane. We know the Porsche isn't the quickest car in the straight line. But it looks like he's not got the best of exits there, so he's going to have to wait. Instead, Galeo might have a look at Hayward, actually.
Really
Wardsy making his stop at P6. Oh, sorry, Rich. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, in the braking zone, you can see how much faster the Bentley is there. So much more confident, but you just can't take the risk here. He's going to dive up the inside of the Porsche at the hairpin here, but can he get on the loud pedal a bit quicker? The Porsche's got good purchase out the corner all the time. Nico is just drawing him in, reeling him in like a nice fish on the lake here.
Oh, Galeo goes deep though. That's going to allow Trigger to undercut, and yeah, he cuts back as Hayward dives into the pit lane. But yeah, Galeo just going a little bit deep at Goddard's, and that allows Trigger to get through. And Nico right on the back of these pairs, so he'll be hoping that he can get a piece of this action as well. Just up front, Captain Rog has dropped even further back. Bump stopping, he's in a world of his own now. He's got 7.6 seconds back to Rog. I don't know whether, as we sort of mentioned earlier, maybe bump stop was going through a graining phase, and that phase can sort of go away. You can get through it and then the pace returns. I'm just wondering if that's what's happening, because bump stop seems to have turned it up to 11 at the moment, and he is pulling away at a rate of knots. And I'm just wondering maybe it's time for Rog to get out of these tyres. And just to say that, yeah, he dives into the pit lane, and hopefully a fresh set of boots will bring back some of the pace he had earlier, as we've got a car spun round at the exit of the old hairpin. It looks like BoA Surfless has had a bit of an incident. He reclines on the back of back onto the circuit. Oh, there's damage as well, big damage. The bonnet is jumping up as he drives along, so not ideal for Surf. He didn't seem to have much luck yesterday in the 12 hours of Mazzano either, and it seems that bad luck has continued today, so he'll be gutted.
will indeed, and Trigger will be cursing Galea because Nico has just flown on by him like he wasn't even there. Didn't put up too much of a fight, and it seems the Porsche has given up this battle, and expect to see him dash on into the pits now.
It's going to be interesting. It looks like Captain Rog might come out in the middle of that group, is he? No, he's got a little bit slow coming off the tracks, so he's going to come out just behind that group. So Nico maintains position on Rog. So Nico did try and pull that undercut, and just waiting for the timing screen to update. I'm pretty sure he is behind. Yeah, so Nico getting the jump on Rog, who will have to now also try and get past Galea, who has yet to pit. All of this will play into the hands of that man, the number 64 in the silver and green Audi, BoA bump stop. He's out there driving in a world of his own at the moment. He's got a big gap to second. BoA Prawn, who is a 16.8 seconds back, and this is halfway through the race, and you have to say bump stop here, looking in the driver's seat, but don't count out Arslan Trigger. He's really making good progress after that early undercut. It's going to be a case of whether he's got any tyre life at the end, isn't it, Rich?
Yeah, it's all about conserving, and of course bump stop. He looks like he's got into a rhythm now, and when you're in that zone, you want to stay in it as long as possible. Coulthard J. Jones next into the pits, and Nico is hounding. He's going to have a look. Trigger's had to leave the door open. Nico looks like he's going to get good purchase on the exit. It's going to be a drag race up towards turn 1. Nico seems to have got the job done, and he moves up into the net race lead. Our pole sitter, where's it all going to shake out? Where the main man bump stop in the 64 Audi once he boxes. Where do you think he will shake out, Steve-O?
Well, it's going to be tough to tell. I think his pace has been so good in the last sort of 10-15 minutes or so. I feel like he's going to be coming out somewhere near these guys. I feel like he could. It's very difficult to tell. To be fair, there's a fairly big gap, but I don't know. These guys behind have also got great pace. It's going to be really interesting, Rich. I've got a feeling he might come out literally somewhere right in the middle of all this. It's Trigger loses it. Manages to catch it. Is that going to invite Galea to have another look? That'll be the last thing Trigger needs to clear the Porsche driver again. No disrespect to Galea at all, he's doing a good job in P6, but the guys are on very different strategies at the moment, so that would certainly hold up Trigger in that situation. A bit further back, we've got a little scrap for Q9. Paul A is holding into 9th, it looks like he's got Coulthard on the back of him in the Lamborghini. Paul A's got a bit of traffic as well, so that might play into his hands. Yeah, other than that, it's looking a bit spread up. It's going to be all about those pit stops. Where is bump stop going to come out?
Absolutely hammers it through the chicane there.
Yeah, you can just see it on the track radar. He's a high pin now. It's a slight concern for him, but you can see he's coming up to a lot of traffic. So I'm just wondering, maybe now might be the time to jump into the pits and not lose too much time trying to clear those back markers. It'd be certainly what I'd be considering here as he lags his way around the final corner. But he's going to stay out for another lap. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be trying to clear that traffic when you still have to make a pit stop. I'd be considering jumping in the box very soon if I was bump stop.
Yeah, a bit concerning that full bar of red pitting. Maybe it's just our connection to him, I'm quite sure. In the chat, Lil Mun Syndrome got disconnected. Gutted to see my friend. Very sorry. Put all that hard work, all the hard yards in, and it's just a kick where it hurts. That's all we can say.
Yeah, unfortunate. It was going strong in 9th place, Lil Mun, so yeah, sad to see you go. We suspected it was an internet issue when we saw the car spearing straight on at Goddard's, but always unfortunate to see. So Captain Rog is going to have to clear Galea as Galea jumps into the box this lap, but he's now onto the back of the Porsche driver. And say, you imagine that Rog will have the grunt on the straights to be able to get alongside, but it's interesting how Galea, who's clearly going for an overcut strategy here, is playing havoc with the guys who are pitting early. It's making this race very interesting. So I guess thank you for that, Galea. But oh, and Rog gets very screwy out the exit. He's across the grass. He holds it, but he's really struggling for traction in the big Beamer. He's going to have to do all that catching up again.
Bump stop still stays out for yet another lap. Would you Adam and Eve it?
Well, I suppose if you look at where he is on the track, he has got, as I said, we are sort of approaching traffic, but at the moment he's got Surfless, who's sort of by himself as there's a car off in the gravel up ahead, so hopefully they're going to take some care rejoining. Ooh, that would be a scary moment, I'm sure, for bump stop there. I think it was car number 80, Coulthard, had a bit of a mishap and nearly wiped him out in the rejoin. But yeah, so bump stop's got Surf, who's sort of all by himself to clear, so you suspect that he won't make life difficult. And then car number 22, Jay Jones, again, he's on his own, but it's when he catches up to that group further ahead of about 8 cars in a row, then that's really when he's going to start losing time. Nico has also managed to clear Banjo, so he's got a huge amount of clean air to pound some fast laps in. So yeah, I feel like it's got to be imminent, Rich. I feel like Bumpstop has to make his pit stop in the next lap or two, because otherwise he's going to risk losing this race.
Yeah, you feel like you'd have to take advantage of a fresh set of boots, you know.
The ping is
I can't watch it.
He comes into the box.
At last,
as he pings into the pit wall. Tux has said that maybe it's best that he stays out on his own whilst his ping is high, but he wouldn't have been on his own. He was catching up to the back of that big group of back markers. So I do feel like this is the call, and this is going to be where the race. Where is Nico? He's coming out of McLean's. Is that McLean's at Coppice onto the straight? So I feel like it's a very quick stop, so bump stop definitely hasn't gone for tyres there. He's just gone for a splash and dash. Nico is still way back at the hairpin, so he's going to keep hold of this race, and it's going to be a case of whether Nico, who I feel was stationary long enough where he's probably taken on a fresh set of tyres, it's whether he's going to have the extra pace to reel in bump stop. But yeah, definitely just a splash and dash there, no tyres taken. Which of course is allowed in the pro class. Under classes do have to pit for tyres, but it's an open strategy here in pro. So just a little splash of gas for bump stop, and yeah, we'll see whether Nico and Trigger can wheel him in.
Yes, a really interesting strategy is taking place, and of course you've got the different permutations with this as well. Can you survive an hour on them set of boots? And he is looking sharp so far. Really going to have to look after him, nurse him into these closing stages, especially after, you know, cooling him down, coming into the pits, getting up on the jacks, back out again, maybe onto some marbles, etc. But bump stop, after disappointment last week at Suzuka, you know, it's come into his own and doing a sterling job.
Yeah, it looks very much that way. Of course, if you don't change tyres, you don't have the benefit of the new tyres that would normally put on would have been in the blankets, so they really do go cold when you've been up on the jacks, and sort of taking it easy through the pit lane, so he will have to work. He'll probably be back up to temperature now, but that first out lap, it's always a little bit icy. Just have a look in the top corner, Rich, the weather forecast. Is that rain going to come before the end of the race? We'll be hoping from a comms point of view that it does, to make things very interesting for us, but at the moment it's 30 minutes away, only 22 minutes left on the clock. The drivers, I am sure, will be hoping, certainly the drivers have already pitted, will be praying that that rain stays away.
It looks like a light bit of rain, but let's hope it comes around the 11-minute mark and not the 29 minutes.
Yeah, we are we are hoping for Interlagos 2008 levels of late rain. That's what we're hoping for here. But be interesting. So I imagine if you're somebody like Galea, you're currently sat in P7, you're yet to make a pit stop. I don't know how much fuel is in that car, because we haven't seen. But just as I say that, he's had a huge off for counter brakes for the Craner curves. He's managed to keep it out of the wet least, so not an entire commentary test. Do you maybe try and eke your way out just in case that rain does come? Do you maybe try and go as long as possible just on the off chance, it is a gamble, because as I said, at the moment, you imagine it will stay dry for the rest of the race, but you're in P7, everybody around you has already made your stop, you're going to drop right down. Surely you've got to just hang on, haven't you, and pray that rain comes before the end and you can make a stop onto wets.
Yeah, it just depends on your pace, your consistency, how you're feeling in the car at the minute. As we've only got 20 minutes remaining, so it's going to have to come down pretty hard and fast for the track to get wet enough for that maybe different compound on the car. But yeah, we've still got 3 cars yet to service. Galea, Banjo, Prawn will be the first to blink here. We've got a white flag from the marshal there. Not sure who that was for.
Ooh, Kool-Aid in P9, having a look at the inside of Warnsey there through the final hairpin. He's here to see if he can tuck himself into the slipstream. Looks like Warnsey's got the jump on him at the moment, but Kool-Aid all over the back of him. So yeah, it looks like there was contact there actually, Rich. The Ferrari just tapping the back of the Bentley, and Warnsey having to take a trip through the kitty litter. He's going to lose that place. I don't think there was too much intent there, but I feel like Kool-Aid won't be getting any Christmas cards from Warnsey after that.
Oh, the other one who's definitely not getting any Christmas cards is Galea. I tell you, from that early, look, he's entitled to it, but you're not making any friends at the same time, are you? You're not going to get invited down the pub on the weekend, that's for sure.
But this is it, isn't it? This is the risk you take, you can say, in this sort of race. If you're going to go for these big ballsy undercuts, this is the thing that you've got to be prepared to deal with. And Galea's having a good race. He's closing up onto Banjo. Looks like Banjo may have had a little bit of an incident there, but he's driving his own race and he's fully entitled not to yield any positions. And yeah, why shouldn't the faster cars have to force their way through? I'd be exactly the same as a midfield runner if I'm running long. Like, no, make them work for it. This is, their choice to pit. Don't have to roll yourself out of the way. So no, good on him, man. I'm enjoying watching him go. He's looking very loose out of Goddard's there, though. I was wondering how much life there is still in those tyres. And yeah, looking good at the moment. The rain doesn't seem to be getting any closer, unfortunately for us.
Fortunately for them. Yeah, Mclaren, he was quite cheeky there, I must say. He's like one of them leeches who kind of like stay in the underbelly of the shark there, and he was right at the back of bump stop, and good pace for Mclaren, and they approached Physics, and Mclaren just took the opportunity as Physics backed out there to claim that position, and that is for position, and moves him up to P13. So if anyone has a moment, he'll find himself back in the points, but getting towed along nicely by your race leader, bump stop. It does say Prawn on your screen, but he will be into the box and just 10 seconds ahead of this man, bump stop.
Yeah, and that gap is coming down. I know technically bump stop doesn't have to pass him because Prawn does still have to box, but bump stop hunting his man down now, and Nico at the moment is probably too far back to be able to affect anything. So I have to say it's looking good for bump stop at the moment, but it was looking good for him at Suzuka as well, and we know how that one ended, so he'll be desperate just watching those minutes tick by.
And they are ticking by, they're flying by. We've got Banjo, Galea and Kool-Aid all in shot now. Galea hot on the heels of that Ferrari up ahead of him. Galea fast, but quite inconsistent in this race. He's had a few moments through the first sector. Need to hang on to that big weighty rear end of that Porsche. Ooh, just a bit of ping there, I think.
Yeah, getting. Well, they got very close to the back of him then. Yeah, just good. So that will release bump stop then, and he will retake the lead of that race as he goes past the pit box now. So Prawn was racing with Jay Jones, who was down in 10th at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see whether going long has benefited him. Jones seems to have had, since he pitted, seems to have had a bit of a quiet time so far. driving his own little race, nice steady pace. So maybe that will have allowed him to have made the jump, because they were nose to tail in the early stages, and Jones just couldn't find an opening. But it looks like Prawn is already out of the box. He is out of the box. So again, these guys have gone long. They've not taken tyres. They've just taken just a splash of dash of fuel. And Prawn, by the other car, he's in P3. He's up into third. So he's jumped Rog. He's jumped Trigger. He's jumped Warnes. He's jumped all of those guys. So a bit of a masterstroke on the strategy for Prawn there. He's just got to eke his way 15 minutes to the end, but he's got 12 seconds over Captain Rog. He's had a blinder there, Rich.
Yeah, he's really played his cards right and finds himself in a podium position. Who would have thought that coming into the final moments? Of course, I'm not that savvy when it comes to strategy, but Prawn, he's pulled his cards, he's played them at the right time and finds himself in P3. It's bump stop from Nico, Prawn, Captain Rog, Trigger your top 5. Banjo yet to make his mandatory stop of the afternoon, and we're getting a nice little battle here with the cars up ahead of him as well. And he goes side by side. We've got Kool-Aid and Banjo now. This is the battle for P6.
Yeah, and I'm sure somebody in the chat will correct me if I'm wrong, but I've got a feeling always is that Banjo that's
Kool-Aid
got out of the way. Kool-Aid has had a bit of an off there, and that's allowed Warnesy to get through the pair of them. They not holding anything back here, but yeah, I'm sure somebody in the chat will correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe BoA Prawn, not only is he driving the Porsche, but he's also one of our racers that uses the pad. So I think he's racing on the controller, so kudos to him. He's braver than most, as Hohoku has had another off. He's backwards in the gravel after the chicane. Looks like he clobbered the curb on the inside of the right-hander, and it's certainly a day for forget for Hohoku. He's down in 18th, 2 laps down, so yeah, day to forget. He's going to have bump stop. He's going to get the blue flag again very shortly, because that's BoA bump stop coming up behind him, so another lap down for Hohoku. And sometimes it rains, it pours. Of course, it's not raining here. We've got a little light rain in 10 minutes, which
yes,
is good news for us. We might get a little bit of drizzle before the end of the race, but pretty dry here at Donington. And as it looks like it's going to get heavy about 20 minutes after the race is finished, in true anticlimactic fashion. But Bump Stop will certainly be doing a little sun dance right now, as he'll be hoping that he can maintain this lead. It's been a faultless race from him so far, you do have to say. It's very impressive in the Audi.
Yeah, a blinder, absolute blinder. Banjo's still out there. 12 minutes going. Is he going to pull in on the final tour of the circuit? We will see. But yeah, I'm really intrigued today though, Steve, with the strategies, and Prawn has just blown my mind.
Well, yeah, it's caught me out a couple of times as well, as somebody who's used to racing in AM and the GT4 leagues, where you have to take tyres, and sort of I've seen a few times today where I've just sort of been looking down the field expecting them to come out sort of 5 or 6 positions below where they have, but then they've thrown me a curveball by not taking new boots, just gas, and yeah, Prawn and Bump Stop, we think the guys who have certainly the guys who have done that, and it's certainly paid off for Prawn. He's up in third. He's got a 10-second lead over Captain Rog, so that is sort of coming down just a little bit. But he'll be hoping that he can hold him off. He positioned his car very well in the fight against Jay Jones earlier on in the race, so he can position his car well again. There's no reason. We saw Rod struggling to clear cars as well, so he'll be hoping he can hold on to this podium. Oh, just further back, Jay Jones clearing Banjo. Banjo seems to be dropping backwards like a stone. I don't know what's going on with the tyres or the fuel, but yeah, Banjo really struggling. Jones just got a good exit out of Coppice, and just pulled away down the straight. He's already a couple of car lengths ahead as well into the hairpin, so a nice clean move. But Banjo, maybe it's time to come in for the pit stop now, mate. I think you've thrown your roll of your dice. The rain it's probably going to be too little too late at this stage, it looks like. So yeah, cut your losses, I'd say. But oh no, he does stay up. So
Leia's been in all the action today, isn't he? He's always had someone up close and personal. But yeah, some of the pit stops today, Steve, you're not going to see them on the forecourts this week, that's for sure. I saw the queue. It was about an hour long. They were blocking the roads. What are these morons doing? Lord only knows.
oh, maybe that's why it was such a short stop. Maybe they had the jerry cans in the boot.
Yeah.
And just a quick top up from them. So yes, it is absolute chaos here in the UK with petrol and stuff at the moment. But they've got the great British sense of common sense coming to the fore once again. But we don't want to get too deep on the stream. 10 minutes to go.
I don't think many people have heard of that, Steve.
No, I'm not entirely sure what it means. It sounded weird coming out of my mouth, to be honest with you, but I'm sure it exists somewhere. But and Ahoku again in the wars, gone off at turn 1. It looks. So yeah, credit for him to staying on, but he'll be wishing those final 9 minutes away at the moment because he's similar to my own race, just not enjoying life in the Audi here at Donington. Field fairly spread out now. There's a couple of fights. Flins and Kool-Aid looking pretty close. BoA and Coulthard as well. But otherwise, gaps have sort of developed amongst the field. Did have some good racing earlier on, especially with the mixtures of strategy. Let's not forget it was Nico GTR who actually, well, he didn't pip bump stop to pole. It was quite sizable, 2.5 tenths, but he did it right at the death until the clock had hit 0, stole pole right at the last moment, and he was leading in the early stages. Got bumped down to 4th on the first lap, had a bit of a nightmare start, and but since then it has been the BoA bump stop show, and he now has a very sizable lead. 8 minutes to go. He'll be stroking the Audi home. Just taking it easy, bit of lift and coast, minding those curves, and just bringing it home for his first victory of the season. It's what he'll be hoping anyway, is for sure. Let's not put the kibosh on that one.
Kool-Aid thought about going around the outside into the chicane, thought better of it, had to back out and lost a lot of time there. 8 minutes to go, and I've got one question, Steve. Is it raining yet?
Well, it certainly doesn't look like it's raining on track on the cameras, but I do find it's quite difficult to sometimes spot the rain on this game. But no, it's still 10 minutes away. It's just going to tease us, isn't it? We're not gonna get it, are we? It's going to come just after the race is finished. That's a shit.
Leaders on the final lap.
Yeah, and the downpour. Yeah. What could have been? I'm just looking back with a bit of bitterness after we've been wading our cars through standing water in the AM class race, and these guys get a bit of a whiff of rain, but not until after the race is finished.
A big shout out to the man at the front of the order bump stop after a tricky last race in round 1. Didn't quite work out for him. Was happy with his podium position in the end, he said. Captain Rog, of course, won last time out in the BMW. He's had a bit more of a tough day at the office, as Galea is way off the circuit there and rejoins just in front of Mclaren. Nico, though, after taking the pole position, he's just been caught out with strategy today. Trigger box very, very early, but one of the standouts will be Prawn. He's really come together when it's mattered at the sharp end of the race. Finds himself that podium position with a 9-second advantage over Captain Rog, your championship leader, coming into this one.
Yeah, definitely, and Galea will be kicking himself a little bit there, because let's say he's had a couple of offs in quick succession there. He's lost his rhythm slightly, but that's dropped him out of the points actually. So Mclaren is now up into 12th.
It's raining. It's raining, Steve.
It's raining. It's raining.
Hit.
6 minutes to go, and we have got
Hallelujah.
the rain as promised. Maybe that's why Galea's been struggling. Maybe he's starting to get a little bit greasy. The track's still optimum at the moment, but yeah. So Mig went into the points. Banjo's still yet to pit. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference now if it does rain. I don't think anybody's going to be diving into the pits for wets. It's not going to get wet enough, is it, in 5 minutes? So.
Lie to me.
But yeah.
Lie to me. It's going to be carnage. We're going to have seeds. Cars
carnage.
off in the gravel. Surely.
Well, yeah, if it does get a little bit greasy, it does. I certainly can tell you for free from my own experiences, the curbs here get particularly treacherous. Even in greasy and damp conditions, the curbs become very dangerous. I mean, you've been taking them for sort of the best part of sort of 55 minutes, and in quali and in practice, and suddenly you have to try and avoid them. You sometimes just lose a bit of concentration, just dip your wheel on the curb, and that's all it takes here. Particularly in that sort of the first half of the app, and you can be in the wall, so it's going to be. They've just got to be careful here, the drivers, not to squander what they've worked for. You know, it's 55 minutes into this race, and they still all to play for. With a bit of rain around, they've just got to keep their focus, keep their calm, and just watch those white lines and those curbs. Because if you brake on those, well, it's game over.
We've got to keep battles wisely in these final stages. As we see Kool-Aid keeping his cool at the minute. Pushing Hornsey all the way to the checkered flag. It's Ferrari versus Bentley, and it's beautiful.
Oh, he just gets a big twitch of oversteer there on the exit. He did well actually. He took the gravel. It's very easy to spin and hit that wall on the inside, but he's right on the edge. He's been involved in scraps throughout the day as Kool-Aid. He's really got his elbows out and had a good scrap. It's been very entertaining. Got 4 minutes to go, Richie. I think it's time to ask that question. Who do you think is the driver of the day?
Prawn!
Richie's team Prawn. I can see that. Obviously Bumpstop has been almost faultless in his race today, but we don't like giving it to the winner, do we? Let's be honest. They get the points and the glory and the champagne and all of the news. But BoA Prawn having a fantastic race, up in third. Played the long game, stayed out not quite as long as Banjo, but still has to make his pit stop with 3.5 minutes to go in this race. But he stayed out long, took a splash of bass, and he's now found himself in third. Captain Rog has closed that gap to 6.5 seconds now, though, so maybe there is a twist in the tail of Prawn, but he'll be hoping that he can hold on to that podium, because he is, as you say, I think he's rightfully a contender for driver of the day today. Yeah, if you're watching in the chat, guys, sorry Rich, if you are watching in the chat, guys, who would you like to see driver of the day go to? Obviously we're going to vote later on, but who's impressed you guys in the chat so far? Neil B, Prawn and Trigger, I'd say. Yeah, it's easy to forget Trigger. He boxed very early down the order and made his way up into 5th.
Yeah, one car you don't want to be in right now is the Porsche. When it starts to get a bit greasy, you're already hanging on for dear life. And she's just going to be the, what's it, buckaroo. That's what she's going to be. If you remember that childhood game.
I do indeed. Just I don't want to tease you again, Richie, but the track is no longer optimum. It has downgraded. Unfortunately, it's still fast, but it's no longer at its best, as the deluge has not come. It's just get out there, Richie. Go do the rain dance. We need a bit of rain now. Spicing up these last 2 minutes. Yeah.
try and make something happen. Why not? It's all settled down. Big run though on the back door. We're just going to go straight past Coulthard there and up into 10th. Maybe giving a place back there, Coulthard. Not quite sure. Maybe just struggling in the late phase here. Of course, a lot of drivers have gone the full distance on a set of tyres, which they should be able to do, but we'll be at a stretch. We'll be dropping out of their ideal G spot. Here we go, 1 minute 24 remains. We're on lap 39 here in Donington. Bumpstop, Nico Prawn, your podium. positions, but Rog is looming. One mistake, one sneeze, one cough, one splutter. He's going to be hot on the heels of Prawn. Hold it together, lads.
Yeah, he's just close enough, isn't he? That's the thing. He's about 5 seconds back, and he has been catching him. But you feel like there's only going to be 2 laps left of this race, and you feel like Prawn, barring any mishaps, should hold on. Although half a second into that split, so I don't know if Prawn's taken easy. We've got yellow flags up ahead. Who is that? It's BoA Physics, who has been in the wars. He's gone off at the old hairpin. Needs to be careful. He's rejoining here because Prawn's coming up to the apex. So just watch it here. Yeah, he's out of the way, nice and easy. So all fine. But yeah, he's certainly had a day in the wars as Physics. One man who has not been in the wars at all is that man number 64, BoA Bump Stop, and I'm just wondering if maybe he's just taking it a little bit easy here through this final corner, so he doesn't have to do another lap.
Oh, so he should.
He certainly doesn't. He certainly doesn't look like he's taking it at full speed, and the clock has hit 0, and there we go. So we are going to weave. BoA Bump Stop takes the win in imperious fashion here at Donington Park.
That will mean the checkered flag for a number of drivers. Surplus also catches it there. Nico's going to come across the line. P2 in the BoA Pro class. And the race is called there. Prawn. Can he hold on? 3.3 seconds the gap.
He's coming out of the last corner now, Richie. I think he's done it. Just laid down that traction. There he goes. It's going to be P3 for BoA Prawn in the green and pink Porsche. And that has been a fantastic result from him. He's certainly our driver of the day in the comms box. Captain Rog comes home in 4th. He'll be thinking of what could have been. Just didn't have the pace of Nico and Bump Stop today. He's tried to stick with him in the early stages, but eventually got dropped. And RCM Trigger, he boxed earlier than everybody, played the undercut, managed to carve his way through the traffic, and he's come home in 5th. Kool-Aid P6, he had a scrap, so he got past Warnsey in the end. And yeah, Jones P8, Mclaren P9, Surface P10, Coulthard P11, and BoA Galea P12 are your point scorers. And Richie, what a race!
What a race. Nico GTR just saying double rear puncture. That must have happened late on. Holds on for a podium slot there. But what a race. This has been BoA. This is what it's all about. This is the Pro Class Round 2, Donington, with Rich and Steve in the commentary booth. But Bump Stop takes his first win of this season here, season 5, and Nico settles for P2 after the podium, after the pole position, excuse me. Prawn, one of our drivers of the day, really climbing up the ranks in the late stages of this one. Captain Rog, I think you'll settle for P4 after the drama he's had. Trigger, the complete other extreme to Prawn, and finds himself in P5. Kool-Aid, he's one of our unsung heroes, I'd have to say, Steve, in P6. Warnsey, good job in P7, but would think he'd need a bit more. Jones done well to get to P8. Mclaren P9. Surplus, tough day at the office for him, but stuck in there. Good points for him. Coulthard 11th. He'll be wanting a bit more. Galea did get into the points in the end, and very good job for him. Well done for everyone for hanging on in there, especially the likes of Huhuku in P18. And yeah, very sorry to see Little Mon Syndrome DC off into the distance.
Yeah, he was on for what could potentially have been a top 10 finish, so he'll be gutted for some points that he's going to miss out on there. But yeah, exciting racing throughout the field, and you always know when you come to these British tracks that it's going to be eventful. There's going to be drama. Overtaking necessarily isn't the easiest in here, but you know that mistakes are going to be punished. So yeah, no, good racing. Congratulations to Bump Stop. Pretty dominant display, you have to say. And yeah, it's been an excellent time watching, calling this race with you, Richie. Hopefully we'll do it again soon. That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, same time, same place next week. Sundays is the home of Xbox Assetto Corsa Competizione Racing. We move on to round 3 next week, and 3 tiers, of course, and we also got the PC tier taking place on the Sunday. But if you want more action, tune in Tuesdays for GT4, where you can see me and Steve make an absolute mess of it in the Intercon series. But it's the Europe and the Intercon, an early and a late race. Join us then But thank you very much for today, Steve. It's been a pleasure and honour, and I think we've done all right, didn't we?
Nothing burnt or caught fire, so what more can you ask for? No, it's been fantastic. Thanks so much, Richie, and thank you everybody who has been watching. I've been Steve is awake, and he's been Richie Skills. So, to that, isn't it?
Good night.